Good morning, Bucknutters. It's Tuesday, October 18th, 2016. I'm Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. Joined, as always, on Tuesdays by Duane Long. Duane, how are you on this fine morning?
Oh, I'm just ready to enjoy a nice Indian summer day here in Columbus. It was beautiful yesterday. It looks like we got another one today.
Could be an Indians World Series, but I digress. Duane, it's very interesting. As I watched the Wisconsin game and the Buckeyes pulled it out, hit the hay, woke up the next morning, went to do the Bucknuts 90, not really knowing what the national vibe was. And I have to say I'm somewhat surprised how positive the national reaction was to Ohio State's performance. Now that you've had a few days to sit on it, are you impressed with what the Buckeyes did? What's your vibe?
I think it's people outside the state are more realistic about things than what Ohio State fans are. This was a big win against a really good opponent. That's a top 10 football team. We go into their ballpark. They're really good there. The crowd is with them. We're young. That matters. Yeah, they're starting to get seasoned. We're starting to come around and be I won't call us a veteran team, but at least a seasoned team. That was a huge win. And that's why I think the national picture is more realistic than what Buckeye fans are going to be. You know, we're nitpicking it and wondering why we didn't blow them out. I think people still have the 59-0 stuck in their head. Well, that was 2 years ago. This is a good football team, and it went into a hostile environment and beat a good football team. So that's the national opinion is actually the right one.
I think my mistake in evaluation of the game, I thought Ohio State, would win more handily. I did not take into account enough the bye week leading up to it. It's not just that you get the week off. Wisconsin clearly they ran 4 or 5 plays in that game in pressure situations they haven't run all year that are saved for the Buckeyes. An extra week to work on those, definitely helpful. Does that give you any extra pause now, considering the fact Penn State, we're going there for a night game and they've had a week off?
Well, no, it doesn't, because Penn State's just not nearly as good a football team as Wisconsin. I mean, they've got a couple of weapons. They've got a pretty athletic quarterback now, and I would say that their back, Barkley, probably the best in the Big Ten. So, you know, that's something that we've got to be prepared for. But I just think that we've had Penn State's number. That's another thing about Wisconsin. They have fought us tooth and nail for 10 years or more. Every time we go there, even when they come here, they're going to give us a tough slog. Penn State, we've just had Penn State's number. I don't think that's going to change. I'm not nearly as worried about this game as I was Wisconsin.
I want to talk a little bit about recruiting now. Duane, his specialty is up front. Steve Wiltfong had a story on the site yesterday. I have it up there now by Jay Tufeli, Ohio State's top defensive tackle target on the board. Got an interesting group of teams after him. Basically, it sounds like Utah, Michigan, and Ohio State are the lead group. What's your vibe on Tufeli as a prospect, and what you've seen out of his recruitment? How do you think it's going to end up?
He's elite. You stay with him until signing day. You keep after him. He's just a great talent, huge kid, moves really well. There's so much to like about him. The thing is, I just don't get the feeling he's leaving the state. He's one of those kids that's conservative. He's not really interested in this recruiting process. He's not all over the social media and talking to everybody. And those kind of kids tend to be the ones that say, I'm just going to stay home. I would be very surprised if he goes anywhere but Utah. If he leaves the state, I think we got a good shot. But I'm just getting the vibe that in the end he's going to stay home.
Probably doesn't help that Utah has actually turned into not an elite program, but certainly a program you can stay at home and have yourself a nice NFL career out of there. They've moved to the Pac-12, very well coached. So, not saying I wouldn't blame the guy, but it's at least a little more understandable. Speaking of a couple big-time defensive linemen, we've found new and interesting ways to compare Ohio State and Michigan here. One interesting little thread on the board that I saw is, how would you compare so far Rashan Gary versus Nick Bosa?
Well, they're both elite guys. I mean, you gotta. It's a comparison that's going to happen their entire careers, probably into the NFL. When you look at them statistically, they're really close. The difference, I would say, I think Gary's played a lot more than Nick has. I think we need to see more Nick Bosa. Actually, I'm tired of the knee thing. He shouldn't be in there at all if his knee's not completely healthy. You don't take that chance. Put him in there, let him play some more. And he's just, Dan, look at the numbers he's rolling up for a kid who's coming off the bench, sometimes third. He's coming off the bench behind Hubbard and Lewis. They're the starters. And then you've got Jalen Holmes that's coming in there, and then he's coming in. So, and for the numbers he's putting up, it's pretty phenomenal how this kid's looked so far.
I would agree, and I would say that going forward, you can expect him. I'd be surprised going forward if he's not in the top 4 or 5 in defensive lineman snaps between now and the end of the season. If you saw the end of the game and the bull rush on Wisky on the 4th down, he was definitely in there. What I have been real happy about is they've used him, like you mentioned. There's a log jam. Actually, a log jam across the entire defensive line, but there's really a log jam at defensive end, and they've got him in there inside. He abused the guard that I can't pronounce his name at Braunschweig or something at Wisconsin. He was getting to the quarterback at times. That guy couldn't even get a hand on him in obvious passing situations. So it's been very cool to see him play. There's a certain reassuring feeling to see a 97 out there on defense on big defensive plays, because they get home so often. And if anyone's watched his brother play in the league so far, this is clearly something that's going to be we're going to get to watch 97s and 99s run around the football field for about a decade at least. All right, we have reached that portion of the show. Much of the discussion nationally now has shifted to Ohio State versus Alabama. Obviously, Alabama's peaking right now, or they're their high water mark so far, so I think the national vibe is that those two have kind of separated themselves from the pack a little bit. That said, it is time for Duane's, as we do every week, his eye test top 5 to this point in time in the season. Duane, take it away.
I'm gonna have Alabama on top again until the defending national champions, and they're beating up on a SEC that is not as impressive this year. Ohio State's number 2, and I agree with it. Those two, I see why people are singing the little song Showdown. That's probably what's going to happen. Number 3, I'm going with Washington. I really think that's a team that could upset the apple cart. Got a really good quarterback. Number 4, Michigan. Got to give it to them. And number 5, Clemson. Clemson continues to try to lose. They absolutely should have lost Saturday. They turn the ball over a lot, and the missed field goal time running out's the thing that saved them. So they're dropping down right now. Right now, when I watched the entire game, and the one thing they have is Deshaun Watson. The guy's just phenomenal. He throws 50-yard ropes. His guy's incredible. But that's the big thing. Got a nice receiver, Mike Williams. But they make a lot of mistakes, do a lot of dumb stuff, and they're barely winning. So that's my top 5.
I would agree with that. I would also agree that there's been a national overcorrection. I'm going to put this in my column tomorrow on Deshaun Watson. Yes, he hasn't had the season maybe people thought he was going to have so far, but he's still a tremendous prospect. We thank Duane for stopping by. We thank Duane for the ELO reference, late showdowns. Google it if you haven't heard it. Have a good one, Bucknuts.